Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Central Alabama, which includes our congregation in Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, and our folks online. Hello, online folks. Wherever you are, whoever you are, whomever you are, wherever you are today on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. And I don't think I've ever flubbed that sentence up more. Okay, to all who are here this morning, welcome home. Today, we're working toward a welcoming congregation renewal process by focusing on the LGBTQ plus history. We appreciate your attention to this morning's announcements. You'll find announcements in our order of service or on the slides for those of you at home. If you require accommodation during our service this morning, our ushers are in the back and available to assist. Please fill out your connection card and notice the opportunities at the bottom of it. Folks online, your connection card should be in the description of the chat or in the description or in the chat. And we appreciate everyone filling out the connection card. Our Halloween festival is next Friday, October 28th. It's our biggest outreach event of this year. And we really need your help, especially if you don't have young kids. Please sign up in your connection card if you can help. Each week, Reverend Julie and Courtney are hosting an open small group on Wednesday evenings at 6. If you'd like to be part of the small group, please join. For the next several weeks, they're focused on writing our credos, and that's our individual statements of beliefs, and all are welcome. Today is your last opportunity to purchase some of the beautiful current art in our sanctuary. To purchase one or more pieces, you see the instructions on the stand in the rear of the sanctuary next to the double doors. Our next exhibit is titled New Chapter, and it's going to be mixed media by Diane Tucker and photographer by Mark Hobson. And I'm so excited. They're going to have an opening reception this Thursday evening from 5 to 7:30. Next Sunday is All Souls Day. Please bring a photo of a loved one you'd like to remember. And now we have a few special announcements. I know we have one from the coffee committee. Is anybody here from the coffee committee that wants to do a special announcement? Okay, maybe not. But we also have Wendemic. Let me invite her up.
First of all, I want to thank you all so much for all the number 5 recyclables and how clean they were and how meticulously you picked them out, because some of them I had to use a magnifying glass to find the number. And the women who are creating Christmas ornaments out of them are a real inspiration. Also, we have the young people at GBM who come up with these election guides, and I've got about 20 out there. They're amazingly done. So if anybody wants one, we're trying to collect $20 to pay for the 21 that we have. Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite up Amethyst to talk about the downstairs murals. Can't say that word.
If you've been downstairs lately, you've probably noticed some changes. Sorry, you know I'm scared of this thing. We have a very talented young artist, Erica Skidmore, who is creating beautiful murals on our walls downstairs and really just brightening up the whole space down there. And she would love to invite you guys to be part of this process. So the following dates will be dates that she's downstairs working: 10:30, 11:13, 11:20, and 11:27, and we would love to have everyone in the congregation be part of these murals. Thank you.
Can you say those dates one more time?
Yes.
I'm going to write it down.
October 30th, November 13th, November 20th, and November 27th.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And now, our prelude prepares us for worship. As always, thank you, Chip. Please rise in body or spirit for the lighting of the chalice. We light this flame to ignite our hearts and minds, the spark of knowledge that enlightens, the shimmering hope that burns, the blazing love that engulfs our actions, the bonfires of our commitment. We light this flame for those who celebrate themselves, who fear, who hope, who persevere, who stand on the side of love for all. We light this flame for those who have been ridiculed, that they may find peace, for those who have fought to marry, that they may celebrate, for those who live in uncertainty in the world, that they may have hope. We light this flame to renew our commitment that no one shall ever again suffer for the right to love. We light this flame to celebrate our kaleidoscope of diversity, working, loving, and living on the side of love. For this, we light this flame. In the spirit of inclusivity and welcome, take the next few moments to greet people around you, especially if it's somebody you don't recognize. Please be seated for the opening words.
Love cannot be bought or sold. It does not make a profit. Love does not hide from truth. Love dives deep. Love takes on flesh. Love is queer. Love is platonic. Love is erotic. Love is asexual. Love confronts evil. Love delights in pleasure. Love touches and weeps and flirts and feeds and creates. Love is risky. Love challenges systemic evil in all its forms. Love is simple but not easy. Love is collective. Love rises up. Love apologizes. Love believes. Love corrects. Love holds accountable. Love pays reparations. Love heals. Love tells its story. Love embraces everyone, every creature, every creation. It knows us intimately. It holds us collectively. Love transcends every boundary that seeks to confine it. It will not tolerate violence in its name. It does no harm. It only sets free.
Thank you, Mary. And now, please rise and body your spirit for one of my favorite opening hymns, Come Sing a Song With Me, number 346 in your hardback. And now I'd like to introduce Piper Tatum to come forward and share.
Good morning, I'm Piper Tatum. I use she, they pronouns. I'm transgender. I've been transgender since November last year and been thinking about changing my gender since 3. And when someone feels like this, they just know. And when they have the wrong gender, when they feel like their body isn't the right body, they'll just know their self and be their self. Like I have chosen to be myself instead of hiding my true self. While some people have to hide their true self because their parents don't approve of them being LGBTQIA+, and when they try, when they try to explain to their parents that they are LGBTQ, their parents don't approve, and they have to stay the same gender as they were assigned at birth, and they have to hide it. And some people like that are mean to LGBTQ people because they can't be their true self. But sometimes they can most of the time they can be their true self and just express themselves how they feel they are.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Artemis, and I am a member of the board. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Our church is supported by those who call our church home and by those who support the efforts of our church to change our world for the better. If this is your first time with us, please pass the plate. We are just glad you are here. If you wish to join our church this morning, please come up during the offertory to sign the membership book. It's behind me somewhere. We share our cash plate every Sunday with organizations whose work reflects UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equity for all. Today's Share the Plate will be for the Unitarian Universalist Office at the United Nations, otherwise called UUNO. From involvement in drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to leading the Faith Caucus to establish the International Criminal Court, to overcoming UN apathy about sexual orientation and gender identity issues, the Unitarian Universalist Association Office at the United Nations has a long history of providing strong leadership in all aspects of human rights at a policy level. We appreciate your donations, either by placing them in the plate, by mailing your donation to the church, or by using PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Our Venmo account is at UUCBHAM. Our Zelle account is office@uucbham.org. Please designate whether your offering is for UUCBHAM or UUNO. Thank you for your generous support of our church and our Share the Plate recipient. May we give in love and in hope.
Now's the time in our community when we share what we carry with us this day, joy or sorrow. For those of you online, please share yours in our online chat and remember to hold others by placing parentheses around their name. For those of you here in person, we now invite you to come forward, drop a stone in honor or memory of what's on your heart today. Please come forward. Today, we lift up Dr. Pia Seen, who lost her father this week. Also, Betsy Henley passed last week. Please keep one another in our hearts and minds in the spirit of community and love. Please join me in the spirit of meditation, followed by a moment of silence. And today's meditation was written by our very own Reverend Julie. We gather today for a purpose, as we do each Sunday, to reflect on the world and our place in it, to recognize and honor the wisdom which came before us, exists between us, and is evolving among us. Today, we gather to remember that while we are a welcoming and affirming community, which includes folks on the LGBTQ+ spectrum at every level, we need to be intentional about our welcome. May we focus today with intentionality to hear the stories of our queer community, to honor their struggles, and to lift up their history, a history which is so often suppressed and forgotten. May we recognize that for so many, our intentionality and bold inclusion must be public-facing, for the messages of hate and exclusion are prevalent. May we love all those in our community, and especially those who show up on Sundays to test whether our welcome is truly inclusive. May we show them the acceptance they needed to hear so long ago, and they need to hear over and over again. May we honor the ancestors lifted up today by continuing their work of breaking down barriers, inviting others to the table, and making good trouble for a more loving and accepting world. Let's take a moment of silence. So be it. And now I'd like to invite up Artemis Hill for a moment, a sharing moment.
Hello again. I'm here because I represent I represent two letters of the LGBTQ. Oh, thank you. You know what? Might as well. It's easier that way. So I represent two letters of the LGBTQIA plus community, the G, gay, but today I'm actually going to focus on the A for asexuality. And here are the colors of the flag on the book. Growing up, I always realized that, I don't necessarily like women. I kind of like men, but I don't necessarily want to perform the acts in the bedroom. And as a teenager, hearing everyone do whatever with their person, I'm happy for them. But it was always weird for me. And then as time went on in college at the University of Montevallo, which is a beautiful place, go Falcons, that's when I realized that, asexuality. And I found this random website, and Avon Wiki, which is the Asexual Visible Education Network. That's how it put it all in place for me. So asexuality, for a lot of people that don't know, it means it's a person that lacks sexual attraction or is just very, 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 very low. Ooh. So in the asexual community, since people thinking, well, if you don't want to have sex with a person, how could you still date them? Well, they separated between romantic attraction and sexual attraction. So a person could still, want to be with a certain person. It's just the sexual attraction part is either not there or is low. It's not abstinence, it's not celibacy, and it's his own individual sexuality. And so this awesome book I bought back then in 2012, I think. It's called Asexuality, A Brief Introduction. And it's from the pages of the asexualityarchive.com. So a lot of the passages in here don't have people-specific names, but it's wonderful, wonderful perspectives. But I just wanted to read with you all this quick poem once I can get this open. Okay. The title of the poem is just simple. I am asexual. I am asexual. I don't feel sexually attracted to anyone, not men, not women. That's all it is. I'm not gay, though I am in this case. I'm not straight. I'm not bi. I'm none of the above. Asexuality is real. It's not fake. It's not a hormone problem. It's not a way of running from a bad relationship. It's not a physical condition. It's not an attention grab. It's not an inability to have sex. It's not an inability to love. It's not some way to be special. I don't care if you have sex. I don't care if you don't. I don't want to shame you. I don't want to convert you. I don't want to recruit you. I just want you to understand me.
The world is a hopeless jumble, and the raindrops tumble all around. Heaven opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step beyond the if happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't Well, that's a hard act to follow. I'd like to invite the children forward. How are you guys doing? Good. So, what holiday do we have coming up?
That's right. Do you guys like Halloween? It's my favorite. Free candy. Second favorite was your first favorite? Okay, Christmas is pretty good too. Easter, also a candy-based holiday, right? I can see you put some thought into that. So Halloween is my favorite because I love spooky stuff, even though spooky stuff scares me. Right, but Halloween is a good opportunity for us to face our fears. And we've been hearing from some really brave people this month who have faced their fears and done super courageous stuff. You have this book too? I'm gonna read a story from it in just a second. So one of the things that I'm scared of, aside from public speaking, is ghosts. And I know that that's silly for a grown-up to be scared of ghosts, but I really, really am. So I'm gonna read you guys a story about someone who is not scared of ghosts, even though they meet one. He is. Isn't that crazy? I could never. Well, I hope not, if I ever encounter one. I'd still be scared. Okay, this one is called Ah Shung Catches a Ghost. Ah Shung was both brave and clever, and one night he decided to catch a ghost. He waited until the moon was floating high in the dark sky and then walked quietly along the path leading to the deepest part of the forest. He saw a shadow slip out from behind a tree. Then a cold finger touched his shoulder. A whispery voice said, "Excuse me, but do you know the way to town?" In spite of his courage, Ah Shung had goosebumps. "Who are you?" he asked. "A ghost, of course," came the quiet reply. "And who are you?" "Oh, I'm a ghost too," lied Ah Shung. "And since I'm on my way to town, why don't you join me?" "Excellent," said the ghost, and he began floating alongside the man. "Whom are you planning to scare tonight?" "I haven't decided yet," said Ah Shung, who was beginning to sweat. "I'll wait to see who's still up at this late hour. How about you?" The ghost chuckled and said, "Well, there's a fellow named Ah Shung, and I've been meaning to scare him for some time. Yes, I'll look him up tonight. How far is it to town?" "About 3 miles, Ah Shung said. "Let's take turns carrying each other," suggested the ghost. "It will make the journey go faster." "All right," said Ah Shung, and he climbed onto the ghost's back. The phantom carried him for a mile, complaining all the way. "You're the heaviest ghost I've ever met." I died just last week," explained Ah Shung. "New ghosts are always heavy." When the ghost grew too tired to carry the man any further, they exchanged places. The phantom weighed no more than a feather pillow. They came to a shallow river, and Ah Shung began to wade across, splashing loudly with each step. "Why do you make so much noise when you walk?" asked the ghost. Because I'm new at being dead," answered Ah Shung, who was growing less and less afraid of the ghost. "Tell me," he continued, "what is it that we ghosts must fear the most from humans?" "Spit," cried the ghost. "If a human spits on us, we lose our power to escape." A short time later, they came within sight of the town. The ghost asked for directions to Ah Shung's house. His companion said, "Follow me. I know his house well, for I used to live in this town." They arrived at Ah Shung's outer gate, and the ghost said, "Watch closely, and I'll show you a good way to scare humans." The phantom quickly changed himself into a horse and said, "I'll walk into his room and complain about the poor quality of oats he feeds his animals. A talking horse should frighten him out of his wits." "An excellent idea," cried Ah Shung, and he leaped up onto the ghost horse's back and spit on his neck. Oh, I'm sorry. Good. Yes. Ah Shung can use a talking horse to help with all his farm work, even if he does complain about the oats. Thus, the ghost was caught and remained a horse for several years. It is said that a ghost is no match for a clever man. Would you guys be scared of a talking horse? No? Okay. Well. There is something messed up about a talking horse, I agree. Especially one that complains all the time. Oh, you're too heavy. Oh, the oats are bad. Ooh. Mm-hmm. That's true. Parrots? No. Yeah. Are you guys ready to go downstairs? Want to go down? All right. Will you guys sing us down? Thank you.
Good morning, all. Can you hear me?
It's on, it's just not that loud.
Can you hear me now? Well, my name is Gil. The initial is the letter G. Well, not only is it my initial that I'm celebrating today, I am representing G in the LGBTQ acronym that we are celebrating this month of LGBTQ history. But I am always G. And I came out as a G in 1979, way back in Harvey Milk and George Moscone, two politicians in San Francisco, were assassinated. That triggered a lot of chit-chat in 1979 about gays and everything. And well, I came out, but I didn't really come out. I was brought out by a couple of my classmates in high school. I overheard them chit-chatting in the cafeteria or something. I think Gil is gay. The other one said, oh no, I know he is. I saw him and David Waddle doing their shenanigans in the ravine. So I came out. David was out and gay already. But ever since then, I have never experienced any discrimination whatsoever for my orientation, and I'm really happy about that. I have had 3 partners since then. They're all exes. I'm now happily single, and, well, I am a longtime survivor as a result of those partners of AIDS, but I'm really lucky to be here. And instead of doing a long classroom lecture of the history of LGBTQ in the 1970s and 80s, I'm just going to confine that to answering 5 questions, which will sum it all up with all those answers. Question number 1, how did discrimination due to gay identity come to an end? Well, the magical answer was in 1972, it was a magical year. That's when the activists for gay rights were started by New York's Gay Activist Alliance, and their position just spread rapidly across the country. All they wanted was to be treated like human beings, not like some lunatics that were going to be put into an asylum, and which was what was happening prior to that. Well, what happened as a result after the gay rights movement basically started waning? What was the trouble that was still going on with the movement? As with any sort of an action, there's always a reaction. And there were splinter groups in the gay rights movement that were a little bit obnoxious, a little bit overly radical. And as a result of that, there was anti-sodomy laws passed, and that just kind of hurt gay activists' reputation. So some of the other small groups in the gay activists tried to hush the radicals, and they were successful, and they got the anti-sodomy laws removed, overturned. and what had to be done to fight back the problems with gay activism. And one of the problems was gays and lesbians were not allowed to be married. So that was one thing that was worked on. And the other big issue, gay men were blamed for causing AIDS and spreading it, and it was their punishment for being gay. Well, that was taken care of also, luckily. The rumors about the plague or AIDS raised curiosity in high-profile politicians and also in Hollywood. Hollywood movie stars and political activists decided to take it upon themselves to state to the general public that AIDS shouldn't be regarded as a punishment. And as a result, it led to fundraising dinners to find a cure, and generally just brought people together. Well, what has happened since those 1980s? The 1990s, for example. Well, in 1990, I decided it was probably safe to move to California, which is something I'd always wanted to do. And when I moved to San Francisco in 1990, there was an activist group called ACT UP. They were fighting for removing stigmatism to having AIDS, and also removing any stereotypes affiliated with being gay. One, for example, was, real men don't eat quiche. I do, and everyone else does, so that was false, and yeah, ACT UP got rid of that. Well, another stigmatism was shopping. Gay men love to shop. Well, some do and some don't. I perhaps didn't like to shop. I had a partner who was a shopaholic. He drove me crazy, so I left. And one of the slogans that the ACT UP always said was, we're here, we're queer, but we're not going shopping. Well, I turned around, that was the truth, but I joined ACT UP, and I'm sort of a radical, but I'm here and tame, and that's it.
Good morning. I'm Mary House Kessler, and I've been a member of this church since 1984. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am bisexual. As part of the renewal for the welcoming congregation of the church, I have read the history of the first part of a book called The Gay Revolution by Lillian Fetterman. And I want to tell you a little bit about it, and I promise I'm not going over everything from 1940 to 1970, just the high points. In the 1940s, in Washington, D.C., sodomy was illegal. Sodomy was defined as either oral or anal sex. And the punishment for sodomy was to be put in a psychiatric asylum until the superintendent of the asylum decided that you were sufficiently changed, sufficiently recovered from your homosexuality. Upon release from the psychiatric facility, the person was subject to up to 20 years in prison for sodomy. In 1947, homosexuals were not allowed to hold any type of federal job, and this was permanent. If they found you as a homosexual, either applying for or performing a federal job, you were banned from that job and from any federal job permanently. But in 1975, the Civil Service Commission's regulations were changed, and the quarter-century-old policy of persecution of gay people who worked for or wanted to work for the federal government was ended, finally. The American military had been persecuting gays since 1919. However, in 1949, the Department of Defense ordered that homosexual personnel, regardless of their sex, would not be permitted to serve in any branch of the armed services in any capacity. Officers were less expendable than the other people in the service. And so they were allowed to stay in their jobs if they stayed in the closet and they participated in the persecution of all other homosexuals. The policy was ignored during times of war, and homosexuals were drafted and were allowed to come in the service, were invited actually, and to fight in the war. However, at the end of the war, they could no longer serve, and they were given a less than honorable discharge, which is what all homosexuals who were banned from the military got when they left, less than honorable. In 1952, the American Psychiatric Association's first diagnostic and statistic manual of the mental disorders or the DSM, listed homosexuality as a pathological behavior. It was widely believed that if a person was given enough psychoanalysis, they would change to heterosexuality. In some instances, they were given insulin shock, some they were given electroshock, and occasionally they were given lobotomies. Homosexuality was not removed from the DSM until 1973, and I went to work for a mental hospital in 1967. So my female caseload included some people who were lesbians, and they had been put in the institution simply for that fact. It was very difficult for me to accept that, and it was also devastating to the lesbian. In the fall of 1955, there was a widespread fear of contagion of homosexuality throughout the United States. And professors and students were banned from teaching and going to colleges. They were kicked out of the college. And I'd like to give you just one note. Homosexuality is not contagious. On June 28th and 29th, 1969, in the New York neighborhood of Greenwich Village, the Stonewall riots began. they were outside and inside the Stonewall Inn, which was a private club for gays. There was a raid, which was not unusual, and this time, people began throwing things at the police when they came to raid the place. They started a huge riot, which in the first day of the riot, or night, there were 1,000 people rioting. The second night, where it continued, there were 2,000 people involved. This was the beginning of riots, rallies, marches, and protests on a frequent basis. And I want to tell you just one thing about how much the movement has grown. In 1979, the first March on Washington for LGBTQ rights drew 100,000 people. The second one, in 1987, drew over 600,000 people. The third March on Washington in 1993 drew almost 1 million people protesting and marching.
Let's see here. Hi, guys. How's it going? All right. So my name's Xander Lee. I go by he, him pronouns. All right. So this may go a little bit differently than I planned because I've added stuff since the service started. So we'll just see how this goes. I am part of the, I was asked to be part of the welcoming committee for the recertification to be a welcoming congregation. Gil and Mary are also a part of it. And part of being recertified is we already do a lot of stuff, to be honest. Before Mary and Gil and I started meeting, you know, we already do stuff with Pride. We already take money up for organizations. You know, we do a lot just because of who we are. But there are some check boxes we still gotta check, you know? So part of that is education. So that's kind of where Mary and Gil and I kind of came in for the service today. We read the book, The Gay Revolution, over a few months. And Mary had the first third of it from, 1919 until 1960-ish, 50? Okay, 1970. And then Gil had 1970 to 1960 to 1980, 90. And then I took the last section from 1980s till now. And Julie wanted us to come forward and kind of present what was in the book. I very much wanted to do that. But it kind of came to my realization with the help of Mary and I think honestly Julie that I need to tell my story. But I will tell you what I did take away from this book. Let me double check I got all the words correct here. Let's see here. So our main takeaways from the book is that we as queer people have such a rich history of strength, courage, tenacity, and hope. Our forebears showed such courage in the face of hate, and I'm truly grateful for their sacrifices. As with Gil and Mary, and there are many LGBTQ individuals in our congregation that are older that have been fighting this fight for decades, and I'm very thankful for that. We are, our community is, I'm just amazed. I'm amazed, frankly. with what people have been willing to lie down their lives to better society for those that come behind us. It's truly moving. So, before I really start, I do want to define a couple of words, okay? So, as y'all know, the word queer has kind of gone through an evolution, I would say. Nowadays, when I'm gonna use it, queer means it's an overarching term that includes all of the LGBTQ plus community. And then I want to define the word cis or cisgender, and that means that the simplest definition is that your sex, so whatever's in your pants, matches whatever's in your head, okay? What's in your head is your gender, all right? So if you're cisgender, that matches, all right? I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm gonna move forward now. All right, guys, let's see here. As many of you know, I came out as trans earlier this year. As many of you don't know, this was the 4th time I've come out in my life. So the first time I came out as bisexual when I was 19 years old. The world was much different in 2005 for queer people than it is today. So when this happened, I lost all my church friends, including all of my adult church mentors. And while my parents didn't disown me, they were far from accepting. So I spent from age 19 to 23, 24-ish, experimenting with my gender and sexuality, and came out for the second time as bigender to friends and to my mom. Bigender to me basically meant that on the line of continuum of gender between male and female, I felt I was somewhere in the middle, and that I could go fluently between the two based on what I felt that day. At that time, I used he, him, and she, her pronouns interchangeably. But throughout this experimentation, I was dating a cis man from the age 20 to 29, and we were even engaged. While I very much loved this man, I believe that I unconsciously kept him around as a beard or decoy to please my parents and in an attempt to be normal. The third time I came out was as gay in 2016 when I was 30. While this coming out went better socially and I had more support with my extended family, it didn't go well with my parents. They still didn't disown me, and after many months, my mother started to show signs of tolerance, and even at times it appeared acceptance. But my father didn't make any effort to accept me. One of my earliest memories is when I was 5 years old, thinking, I wish I was a boy. And then my very next thought was, I can't tell anyone this. So, I delayed transitioning and coming out as trans for many, many years. Mainly because I was certain that my parents would disown me, and I honestly didn't think I would survive my parents disowning me. Coming out and living out as a trans person, it is the hardest thing I have ever done. It affects every part of my life, and it affects me every day. So being an out trans person requires me to continuously and regularly announce who I am to people that come into my life. So regardless of how they'll respond, so that I make sure that I'm true to myself. Because if I don't announce who I am and I allow them to use the incorrect pronouns, then that not only is hurting me in the moment, but it's hurting how far I've come. So, I'm almost 9 months since I've started my social transition back in January, all right? And I've been on testosterone for 6 months, right? Right? Guys, I'm so freaking hairy, it's ridiculous. So I'm finally starting to look and sound like I've always wanted to, and that's really kind of helping my confidence for really the first time in my life. So my parents didn't disown me, even though they definitely threatened it. But over the last, 6 months, things have slowly gotten better with them. In fact, I see and I talk to my mom nearly every day. She uses the correct name. We're still working on pronouns. That's all right. She even called me sir yesterday, guys. Like, that was freaking amazing, right? So I talk to my father occasionally, but I have not seen him since before I came out. I think with my mother's pressure, he will come around at some point. But what I've learned with my parents and family probably in generally is to some degree I have to meet them where they are. But at the same time, I do have to set that boundary and say, you know, you have to use the right name at the least, you know? So, my story is much like many queer or trans people. Many have it worse than me, and some have it better than me. While society has come a long way with our rights and the way we are treated in society, there's still work to be done. One of the best ways to support queer people to provide safe spaces for them with safe, accepting people that want to be a part of their lives outside of social media. And that is why the Welcoming Committee is working to recertify our congregation as a welcoming congregation so that queer people know as soon as they walk in our doors that they are safe and they are accepted in our community. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much to all our speakers, to Gil and Mary and Xander. I've learned something today, and it's been great. One announcement that I failed to make earlier is that Bill Long is having a session called Prophets in Ancient Israel. It's today at 11:30 in the vocal room and on Zoom. So now, please rise and bow to your spirit for our closing hymn and stay standing through the extinguishing the chalice and through the benediction. And it's number 170 in the hardcover, We Are a Gentle and Angry People. It's one of those songs I really like too. It makes me feel like I can almost sing.
We'll sing all 6 verses. Holly Neer wrote this hymn in the wake of the Harvey Milk assassination, so let's sing strongly.
I'm Kelsey. I'm supposed to talk a little bit about myself. I'm going to try to make it really quick. I'm going to pull out my phone because that's where I put my notes. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Q on LGBTQ, which is queer or questioning. Queer is a multifaceted word. It's used in different ways and means different things to different people. When applied in an affirming manner, it's an umbrella term that can describe sexual orientation or gender identity that does not conform to dominant societal norms. So this year, I found a label that made sense for me. I identify as polysexual, which is the sexual attraction to various, but not necessarily all genders. And I'm also polyamorous. So that, while being polyamorous does not inherently make someone queer, there is a really big overlap in the communities. So polyamorous comes from the Greek word for many, which is poly, and the Latin word for love, amor. And so as queer people, many of us have already had to overcome these heteronormative, cisnormative relationship scripts of what relationships are supposed to look like. So having already broken down those kind of expectations, queerness and non-monogamy can be deeply intertwined. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And these are the closing words. These are, I don't know who said it. Okay, I'm just gonna read this. The road not taken is not a fork. That's too simple a thought. Flipping some coin, either or. Nope, it's not this or that. No or yes. It's nor, neither, and all of the above and more. The road taken goes every way at once. There, they, them. Go, now, live. Thank you.
May our lives be reflections of the beauty, peace, and joy that is possible in the world.